everyone. Today we're going to be making chili. I'm going to go over the ingredients with you shortly. We're going to have tomato sauce. And then I use two different styles of beans. I use both pinto beans and black beans. I also use canned diced tomatoes, chili powder, onion seasoning, garlic seasoning, salt, shallots, white onions, corn, and the kind of meat I use is specifically chili meat, which is a type of ground beef, which is actually thicker. And now I'm going to go ahead and get prepping. Okay, now that my onions are chopped, we're going to begin the process. The first thing I always want to do is I put a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I don't use a lot because the meat does have a lot of fat in it that'll come out. So I use about maybe 1.5 teaspoons. What I want to do is I want to ensure I coat the pot. And as the oil's heating up, the first thing that goes in are the onions. And because this is a slow cooking meal, I do go ahead and mix things mighty quick. Some might ask why I use white onions. White onions have a little bit more of a spice to me than yellow or sweet onions, so I always primarily stick with white onions. So we're going to let these start sauteing. While they are starting to saute, I'm going to go ahead and get my cans ready. I am using a child-safe can opener. This one actually is a Tupperware can opener, and what it does is it breaks the glue seal that the lid has on the can. So this way, if the lid does get touched, it will not slice a finger. Make sure it's all the way done. Comes off simple as pie, and it can be used to reseal the jar. I hear the onion sizzling, so I'm going to have to do this quickly. We don't want to caramelize the onions. All we want to do is start to sweat them to make sure their flavor does come out, so it helps season the meat a little bit. Because chili is about the long-term seasoning. This one didn't quite get done. One second, gotta stir it. As you know, there are many people out there that do believe you can put different things in chilies. Some chilies have kidney beans, some have chocolate. It's all a personal preference. The one thing I do is I do wash all my beans. So once my beans are done, I'm going to go ahead and take a minute and I'm going to rinse them out to ensure that they are clean, so I don't have any extra liquid in there. But before anything else does get added, I am going to brown the meat off in just a minute. So now I am going to get the meat going. I am using 2 pounds, but this 2 pounds will be at least 2 meals for my family. Okay, I've got the beans rinsed out. As you can see, I do have pinto and black. They're all clean, no more slime on them. My meat is almost done. The one big difference between chili meat and ground beef is how it breaks apart. This breaks apart into bigger chunks and isn't as fine. So it's more of a meaty sustenance. So if you want to eat it with chips, crackers, rice, it'll go any direction you want it to go. My meat is almost done. So what I'm going to do now is the beans do get added last. I am going to add my can of diced tomato. I do not strain it because I want the liquid in there to help give it flavor. So 1 can of diced tomato, 1 can of tomato sauce. I don't buy any pre-seasoned, I just buy the plain. And then we're going to go ahead and stir that up before I do the beans because the beans will break because they are already softened. Let me stir this up. And now I'm going to go ahead and get ready to add the rest. And I'm going to add the beans. And I am making a Southwestern style chili, so we are going to go ahead and add some corn. As that helps my kids eat it with the beans. It makes it a little bit more colorful. So just add as much as you want. You can also add different vegetables if you feel free to. So once all that's in there, I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. This is the last time I'm going to mix it with the spatula before I rinse it off. Just 1 second. And now what we're going to do is seasoning. The seasoning is pretty much, you can season it to taste. I personally season it to side and then my husband will tell me, oh, it's not spicy enough. So it's all just based upon taste. So what I'm basically going to do first is go with some onion seasoning. Personally, I support other home businesses, so I am using Wild Treats Absolutely Onion. One of my favorites. I use it almost in everything. And then I'm using Tastefully Simple Garlic. It's actually pieces of roasted garlic mixed in with a little garlic powder. And then a little salt. Remember, your flavorings will not come out unless you do add salt and pepper. I'll add pepper a little bit more towards the end. I know a lot of people say, oh, that might be a lot of salt. But what the salt does is it brings out natural flavors. Give me 1 second, I gotta wash my hands. Okay, got a brand new chili powder here. Gotta pop it up. And we're gonna do just a little bit. Like I said, about maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon. It all depends upon personal taste. If it's not enough, add more. But remember, once you add it, you cannot take it out. So, give me 1 second, let me get another spatula out. So now that all my seasonings are in there, I'm going to mix it up. And then I am going to leave it on the stove for probably around 3 to 4 hours. You can also make this in the crock pot, but make sure you do brown the meat first to make sure it does cook properly. So we're going to stir it all up. And then while it simmers, I am going to put a lid on it. And we'll see you in a few hours. Okay, now that this has been cooking for a few hours, it's ready to go. The sauce has naturally thickened, and so has the chili itself. If the sauce isn't as thick as you want it, you can also add mesa. Mesa is a type of flour from the Mexican culture that will thicken it up, but it's also just to a personal preference. I don't add it. I leave it the way it is. If it's not thick enough, I can always just leave it on the stove a little longer. Usually I consider this a make it and forget it meal. So as you can see, it's a good mix. Corn, beans, nice and healthy, lots of protein. So now it's time to serve it up. I either serve it with Fritos, tortilla chips, or I personally always grew up with chili with rice. It's just a personal preference as to how you want to serve it. So enjoy your meal. I hope you come back for more.